There we go. All right. So good day, everyone. Welcome to our first all-staff meeting of 2023. A lot of really exciting things to talk about today. I know that it is, well, at least in New Orleans, it's 2 minutes after 1 o'clock. And I apologize, there's construction going on outside my place. So if it's a little noisy, please bear with me. One of the things that I am hoping that we try to challenge ourselves in doing in 2023 for all team meetings and for staff meetings is to start right on time. So this is the one exception for the all staff and the all team meetings where we'll start a little late, but I would just ask everyone on this call, please log in a little early if you're able to, just a minute or two to make sure that your camera and your microphone is working. And then we will begin promptly in 2023 for all of our meetings. I'm really excited about it. So I'm going to share my screen as I do, and I'm going to invite Mackenzie to talk about a client story, to share a recent client story. So let me just make sure I am sharing correctly.
Kyle, I think I'm going to do it today.
Oh, sorry about that, Angela. Yes, please, by all means. So Angela Glabro will walk us through a client story. Angela, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. Hey, everybody. Very glad to see everyone and kick it off. What you see in front of you is some photos from a partner called the Louisiana Just Recovery Network. They're a project of an organization called Healthy Gulf. They're located in St. Charles, but they do work in St. James and St. John, really like right along the river. And some of you have maybe interacted with them, but I wanted to tell the story of Audrey Hawkins, who is the grandmother of the woman you see on the left. And that's Jamaica that you see there. So a little bit about Audrey Hawkins. She inherited her home that you see here from her great grandfather, I think it is, who purchased the home and the land that it's on in the 1880s as part of the Southern Homestead Act, which, if you're not familiar, allowed freed slaves to purchase land. And so this land has been in their family for generations. And so what you're seeing is before and after of what's very cool. It's called a triple fireplace. And so I only was able to get two sides of it in here. So you can see one view and then another side, but there's actually three sides. So very awesome. But more than the fireplace, this home actually weathered Katrina without much damage. But totally different story from Ida, over a year and almost a half ago now. So with the driving wind and rain from Ida, it actually tore off the roof of this house. And so you can see in the before photo, the blue tarp that's just like, trying to secure weather from getting inside the home. So with all the water that came into it, obviously all of the rooms in the one-story house were really badly damaged, forcing Audrey to move in with her daughter, who's not pictured here, Alvin, and her granddaughter, Jamaica, who you can see. And so she reached out to this group, Louisiana Just Recovery Network. And thanks to Hannah and Tommy for going out and meeting with these folks really early on, she partnered with us on recovery navigation trainings. They went through our FEMA appeals program. They're really just the ideal partner for SHARE. And so what I mean by the ideal partner for SHARE is that they're an organization that in blue skies moments actually doesn't do disaster recovery at all. What they focus on is environmental and social justice. And so this home is in a community that's called Cancer Alley in St. Charles. And so they already were familiar with the family. So after Ida, when they went out and did their site checks to see how everybody was doing, Jamaica said hey, we're not okay, raised her hand and said, we need help. And so right away, the Louisiana Just Recovery Network worked with our FEMA appeals program and put her application into FEMA. And so awesome. She was able to get the max award from FEMA on this home. She didn't have insurance. And then they were also able to get a few other local grants, but there was still a pretty significant gap. And so that's where the SHARE program was able to help her. We got a few different funds after Ida for response and recovery. And so we were able to fill that gap for this family. And Louisiana Just Recovery Network's been an amazing partner. They attend all our trainings. They're now hiring staff, and they're thinking that they'll do long-term disaster recovery based on what they're seeing as the like unmet need in these on these neighborhoods. And so the before and after picture, like I mentioned, is just that like, I think it's the living room and dining room with the roof. And then the after photos, this home was done, I think it was done about a month ago. I think they finished up right around Christmas. And then I also wanted to highlight this amazing photo of the barge board. I don't know if you guys have seen this when you've gone into houses. I know when I've been in Southeast Louisiana, I've seen a lot of it. But that's the original barge board that was in the home that they like very lovingly, painstakingly took out of the house, sanded down, which you can see Jamaica doing, and then put back in the pieces that were salvageable. So I think super cool. The house looks amazing. I can't wait to go out and visit next time I'm in Louisiana, but just wanted to highlight this incredible family and incredible partner in the work that, Share was able to support. So if there's any questions, pop them in the chat. But with that, I will hand it back to Kyle.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Angela. All right, so we will go through our agenda for today's all-staff meeting. Zach will speak next about just giving an intro and themes for 2023. Liz is going to cover an intro to our organizational goals, and then each department leader will present their highest priority goal for the year. We're going to do program spotlights. So the volunteer program led by April and the prepare forecast led by Helen. We've got some great HR updates and Q1 forecasts, and then we will finish with shout outs and we'll wrap it up. So with that, Zach, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kyle, and thanks, Angela, and everyone who supported the Hawkins family to getting back home. For generations, the country has wronged them. And I'm thrilled that SVP has aligned a number of our interventions to make sure that the Hawkins family was able to be home for Christmas and to start 2023 with visible proof that their humanity matters and that they're not forgotten. So for anyone who is directly or indirectly, well, everyone was indirectly involved. And for those who were directly involved, thank you very, very much. I want to run through, folks, some themes for the year. And let me tell you what a theme is in our language. A theme isn't what we're doing. A theme is how we're thinking about things. You can see it as a technique. You can see it as an operating principle. You can see it as a through line or a lens. We have some really big, important client-centered goals that we're driving towards by 2026. We have a plan to achieve, to get us farther with precision in 2023. These themes are meant for you and your colleagues and team members to influence the way you're going about it, to be a bit of a push or a buffer or support in cloudy times when you're trying to understand, how am I going to get to these really important client-centered goals? How am I going to own the route? How am I going to manifest the mom rule? How am I going to steer into and through turbulence? So let me run through these. First of all, I want to align on and make sure everybody's very comfortable with our theory of change. The theory is this, that the authentic doing work, the direct client work, whether it's owner-occupied housing, opportunity housing, or direct to government service, or the FEMA appeals, when we're working for an entity doing, we're learning things. We're at the shop room floor. We're helping folks do what's going to work. As importantly, we're seeing how folks are harmed by and how the system is not working. Unfortunately, we're seeing people suffer. That doing work requires and informs the way that we're going to get to our scaled impact and system change work. And so I want to be clear to everybody, whether you're on the immediate client doing side or the knowledge sharing system change side, it's all tied together. And we've got to go out of our way to understand from the client perspective, those serving the clients, what's not working so we can bring the solutions to get to scale. Remember, we embrace the mom rule. And that doesn't just relate to if our mom were the people waiting in our line, whether it's owner-occupied housing or the FEMA appeals. It relates to whether our mom was in the line of another nonprofit group or would be served by a government program. So we've got to take the direct client knowledge we have and apply it to the system change and scaled impact work that we're doing. Second, everybody should be super proud of the impact we've had at SPP over the last 17 years, over the last year, over the last month. We are aiming for bigger goals. The strategic plan moves from evolutionary growth to transformational growth. Can't get to that next level doing things the same way. So my job here isn't to tell you how or what to do differently, but to stand on the shoulders of what we've done in the past by being willing to do things differently moving forward. There's a Marshall Goldsmith book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. A lot of times when those who are working with other organizations are suggesting new things, there can be some reticence. They push back. In this people serving world, we feel like if we do something different, perhaps it invalidates the beautiful work we've done in the past. Indeed, being willing to do things differently honors the work that we've done in the past, and because it stands on its shoulder. And maybe more importantly, it honors our clients. What got us here won't get us there. And I ask that we all take a look and really think about, what are we willing to do differently to get to this transformational change that has to occur? Third, we got to prioritize. I don't want anyone at SPP to work harder. You're all working extraordinarily hard. We need to do a good job of understanding what success looks like and what's the path to get there. We can do it all, but we can't do it all at once. And so I want people in their own practice with your teams, managing up or managing down, to be clear that we need to know what success looks like, where we are in relationship to success, and how we're going to get there. We cannot do everything at the same time. To win, we're going to have to say no to some things for right now. The team will support you doing that. If you can tell your boss, listen, for me to get to priority number 1, I have to take a pause on priority number 3. Your bosses will support that. And I want you to hear that directly from me. Finally, stories have power. We just heard one about the Hawkins family. We have got to tell stories internally. We've got to have stories externally. I challenge all of you to take what you know about SPP and the work we're doing and the clients that we're serving, whether it's a win or whether it's a heartbreaking challenge or whether it's a new innovation. Share it with people with the goal of driving dinner table conversation. We don't need people to agree with us. We need them to think. We want them cogitating on stuff. And so when you're communicating, think about, how can I talk to this person in a way that's going to get them to share with their wife or husband or kids or partners or whomever they're having dinner with? Get to dinner table conversation. One way to do that is by telling stories. I'm so proud of this team. Everywhere I go, I'm hearing, oh my goodness, those people at SPP are getting it done. And that's because of all of you. So I hope you'll embrace the themes for this year. If you have questions, reach out to me directly. And thank you. All right, back to Mr. Kyle.
Fantastic. Thank you, Zach. And next up, I would like to invite Liz to walk us through an intro to the 2023 goals.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our newest team members. We're really glad to have you here. I'm super excited for the next section of the meeting. Maybe a little bit because it feels like speed dating, which is something that I never actually got to experience. And so I'm hoping I get a little taste of it during this call. But what we're going to do is do an around the horn, and we're going to have folks from various departments talk for 90 seconds. So it's going to be quick about their goals for this year. And you're going to hear a lot of stuff, a lot of different stuff. And I bet you'll have a ton of questions. And so what I would really ask you to do in the spirit of our themes this year is to connect with your colleagues offline after this meeting. You can shoot them an email, you can send them a text, pick up the phone, or schedule like a Zoom coffee and ask them some questions. I'm really encourage all of us to be curious and to maybe use some of our themes this year as we explore our curiosity. So when you follow up with colleagues, you might want to ask, how are you going to prioritize? Seems like you got a lot going on. I could use some help thinking about prioritizing, and you seem like you have more going on than me. So how are you thinking about this? Or maybe you want to ask them like, wow, how is this different from last year? Or what are you going to do differently from last year? Because last year was really a struggle for you. So how are you thinking about it? I'd love to learn from you. But whatever you do, I really do encourage you to connect with colleagues afterwards and to learn more, because I am sure that you're going to have questions after you hear from this really interesting group that's going to be presenting next. And so with that, I would like to ask all of you remotely to please do a drum roll. I don't see all the hands moving. Let's see it. April, I don't see your hands moving. All right. And Thomas Corley is going to kick us off. All right, Thomas.
So I get the opportunity to present on behalf of Thomas this morning because he's in the car, this afternoon because he's in the car.
Great. Thanks,
so I'll
Dulcie.
hop in. Yeah, no problem. So first, thanks to the executive directors and their staff for putting in some work over this past month to establish our operating site goals and benchmarks for this year. Because of that hard work, we're well positioned to have a solid start to the year. So I wanted to take a moment to thank them. And so now getting into some of the build team's key goals for this year, I'm going to highlight 3 things quickly. First, we will rebuild 492 homes this year. This includes our RAFT program, and that's across 10 different communities. Secondly, we are going to get a nice update from April here in a little bit, so I'm not going to steal her thunder too much, but we aim to realize 12,000 volunteer instances in 2023. And our teams in New Orleans, Southeast Louisiana, Houston, and Puerto Rico are positioned to provide a really best-in-class volunteer experience. And then thirdly, the last goal I want to highlight pertains to our resiliency and sustainability endeavors. This year, we are going to realize resiliency and sustainability improvements on 75% of our OOR projects. This includes improvements like PVC cabinets, recycled blue jean insulation, fortified roofs, and then additional improvements that we've yet to discover. So super quick. And like Liz said, Thomas or I would be happy to chat about anything related to build. So don't hesitate to ever reach out. And with that, I believe I am passing it to Phil to give an opportunity housing update.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or good evening. Let me talk about OH. Okay, highlighting, we plan to complete 52 units this year. We also plan to complete 13 sales this year. We're also planning to bring on 2 new projects for funding. We've identified where those projects are, and we're currently in the process of tying up the land for those projects. Specifically, I'm talking about Terrebonne Parish, Parkwood Place, where we anticipate doing at least 96 units, duplex units, and then also another 40 units in the Lower Ninth Ward, which would be the 3rd phase of St. Claude Gardens 3. Also, we plan to tie up at least 98 lots, and 68 of those we have identified where those lots are in both Terrebonne and also in the Lower Ninth Ward. So that leaves another 30 that we're in the process of identifying, which will bring us to 98 lots identified. And then our other goal is for our existing projects to maintain an average leasing rate of at least 93%. And so we're excited and we feel very positive that we will be able to achieve these goals that we've established for the year. So if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm happy to respond to any queries. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Phil. Next up, we have Helen with the Prepare team.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, all. I'm going to talk later today, so I'm going to try to keep it short. On the Prepare end, one of our major goals this year is to implement preparedness trainings and campaigns in 12 communities. The idea there is really to focus our efforts in the area where SBP is engaged, whether it's our rebuilding sites, where we're placing fellows, etc. So all the communities where you work. Additionally, we'll be enhancing that with a few new partnerships, but really trying to have collective effort and impact in these areas. And then our biggest goal is educating 12 million people in high-risk, under-resourced areas of the country. So this includes those 12 communities where we'll be doing multiple levels of engagement, but more broadly, really trying to, in particular, through our digital presence, with information. And so this really pairs with our communications team, and we can't do that without them. And then third, I'll discuss more later, but we're launching what will be our first version of a collective impact model in Georgetown, Kentucky, in partnership with Toyota. And with that, I'll hand it over to Reese and Giselle.
Giselle, do you mind going first, Giselle?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
All right. All right, so for DAP, our goals are quite lofty this year. Our aim is to secure $4 million in FEMA appeals assistance. So breaking it down further, that will generate $333,000 per month. To kick us off for the start of the year, we so far have generated $81,296 in approved appeals. Average is about $6,199.44, which brings us to a 15.7% increase. Not quite near our target, but it's start of the year. Our goal is to hopefully increase from there. We are continuing community outreach to see if there are any other survivors, any other local communities, local partners that are unaware of our services, who are still struggling to process FEMA appeals, and explain what we can provide, whether it's Zoom training. If we happen to be in the area, we can do train the trainer, discuss with survivors of how to go about the FEMA appeals process, and just continuing outreach with required documentation. And I think that's all I have, so I'll go ahead and pass it to Reese.
Thanks, Giselle. I really appreciate you going first, and I'll connect that dot in just 1 second. Quickly, as we go through the bullets here, I'm excited. In 2023, we're going to expand the Recovery Acceleration Fund and the incredible work that Steve and Stella and Hannah, so many other people have been working with, are working on in Louisiana. We're going to do that in other places. We're on track right now to get the appropriate conditions set in Florida, which will allow us to expand RAF and start repairing homes that were affected by Hurricanes Ian and Nicole. Hopefully in February, we're going to have an opportunity to get it included in the next action plan that Kentucky will produce related to the floods there in Eastern Kentucky of last year. So we're excited about the opportunity to expand the fund, serve more clients in more disaster affected markets, and help more communities and government agencies organize for success long in advance of traditional government funds that don't make it to communities until 2 or 3 years later. I'm also really excited for the reintroduction of a Senate bill that creates a unified disaster assistance application that would require FEMA to collect information in a central way that could be used by other agencies, and ultimately to create a single application for disaster assistance. We were supportive of it in the last Congress. Some minor modifications have been made to the bill that should simplify and make more possible, or make more likely its passage in the Senate. I spoke last week with committee staff, and it'll be reintroduced soon. SBP will offer words in support, but then we'll also work directly with member offices who are necessary to see its passage. What I'm most excited about, though, and the reason that I asked Giselle to go first, is because oversight and accountability is going to be a strong theme for our team this year. With Republicans taking the reins in Congress, there's an obvious opportunity here to look at disaster affected districts in Democratic and Republican districts all across the country. But there is surely an appetite for strong oversight of FEMA and the performance of that agency in impacted districts all around the country. The committee that oversees that is Transportation and Infrastructure in the House, and we expect that there will be a number of hearings on FEMA, and that SBP will be involved in those. The reason that's important is, and if you guys don't mind, I'd take a moment to tie it directly to the theme that Zach mentioned earlier, right? Telling the story and linking our work directly to our clients. The numbers that Giselle's talking about, they manifest here as an amount of dollars and a number of FEMA appeals, but these are people's lives who go on to receive tons more assistance from FEMA through an appeal they otherwise wouldn't be able to mount on their own. And these are just the people that we know about. You know that for every person we help, there are 100 or 1,000 that are applying for this assistance and not receiving it, and they don't meet an organization like ours. And so it's my intent to use the lived experience of our clients and the incredible work of Giselle and Claire and so many others to get these appeals done, to go to Washington and to make that work seen. And in doing so, to kind of make a scene until the powers that can do something about this do something about it. It's plain to me that SBP sees these issues more plainly than most advocacy organizations. And I think that clarity of perspective and viewpoint comes with a serious obligation to bring that information to people who can make real change. And so I'm thrilled to lead that efforts, and I hope those efforts, and I hope that I'll hear from many of you about how you can be supportive or how I'm thinking about approaching it. With that, I can pass it back to Kyle, or we can go straight to JR and Michelle on the advice work.
Let's go to
Chris.
JR.
So we will, our primary goal this year is to generate $2 million in revenue. And we will do that through a wide variety of training resources that we provide to disaster survivors and governments across the nation. We'll continue on with all of our advisory services and technical services. We hope that we do not have to perform 5 to 7 recovery acceleration weeks this year. Unfortunately, we know that the disasters keep coming, so we anticipate and expect that we will do that. For those of you that can recall, this was not a goal, has not previously been a goal. It was something that we saw that there was a need. We felt like it was something we could do and do well, and so far we have. We're going to continue to integrate with all the other interventions, but specifically with our Prepare partners. And now I'd like to turn this over to Michelle, because one of the things we're most excited about is the great work that our recovery and resilience fellows are doing. So Michelle.
Thanks, JR. Yeah, I would just like to echo the integration with the other interventions. I think that that's probably one of the most important things that the fellows have the potential to do. You'll hear more a little later from Helen about the collective impact model, but it's a way for us to be doing work both before and after disasters to help these low capacity communities that are least likely to be able to recover themselves once they do get hit with a disaster. And then our last big goal for the fellows this year is going to be to demonstrate a clear return on investment with a big number, but a highly achievable number for $8 million in return on investment. We obviously are paying for salaries for our fellows for a 2-year term, and we expect them to be able to generate grant funding for the communities that they're placed in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, JR. Next up, we have Angela again with Share.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. So just to wrap it up a little bit more about our Share program, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically our in-house foundation at SBP. And so our goals for this year are to award $5 million to 50 nonprofit partners across the US to rebuild 600 homes. And for reference, last year, we granted $2.8 million to 44 partners, and they rebuilt a total of 448. So highly achievable goal to have our partners rebuild 600 homes. We're also super excited to have Mackenzie Wenninghoff join our team. For those of you who are lucky to work with her, she was in our Panama City office for, I think, 3-4 years. And so excited to really be able to level up the Share team and position it, I think, on a more national stage. And so Mackenzie is going to be really integral to that. And then another goal that we have is to raise $4.8 million. Last year, our goal was $4.6 million, and we came just shy of it, I think at like 4.3 million. And just as a current update, we're super excited that in January, we've already raised $880,000 from Foundation of Appalachian Kentucky. That's going to go towards a match grant in Eastern Kentucky, where we'll work with the Advise, Advocate, and Prepare teams to make sure that that money is spent throughout the community to support resilient building. So with that, I will hand it back to Kyle.
Thank you so much, Angela. Next up, we have Shelton with the tech update. Shelton, if you are talking, you might be muted.
Wasn't that great? What I said? Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to do a little recap so I can of something we did last year, so I can explain the goals for this year. So as most of you know, we implemented a new version of Salesforce with a number of new modules. It was in Q4 last year. We had some data issues and some other config issues that we have moved very quickly to work through and made a lot of progress. And if I made a round of phone calls earlier this week just to see how the different group leaders are doing. And for client services, we're now able to enter and manage client data. We can track client milestones and key dates, and we can associate clients with specific programs. For development, we input and store donor and donation information. That's both with automated integrations with our donor platform, Classy, and Donor Search. We can report out on donations by graphical information on donors, raise the funds raised by time frame or demographic, and the giving of corporations and foundations. And so volunteers, we can register volunteers, individual group leaders, group members. We can schedule volunteer activities and log volunteer service deliveries, and we can see much of that on a dashboard. And Angela talked to me the other day about the new grants management system we implemented that allows us to provide a form for partners to apply for grants, and then allows Angela and her team to review, approve, and award the funds, and we can track all the funds coming into share and out to partners. Marketing has a new module they're just getting ready to get started using. So this is the baseline that we want to build on in 2023. And those of you involved know we have a whole list of requests to enhance reporting and dashboards, and in some cases, more data intake forms. And we have a number of requests that are really full projects in and of themselves. So between those requests and projects we were already planning to do in what we call Salesforce 2.0, we are prioritizing all those items, and we'll be delivering those iteratively throughout the year. I don't think you're going to see us do another really big project like we did the first time around. So we're pretty excited about the opportunities with Salesforce. Another area we're going to focus on is completing the assessment of the technology available for automated remote damage assessment that we can use for advisory services and FEMA. This can include automated roof repair estimates from aerial photography, and also automation assisted and remote assisted line item estimates for the FEMA appeals work. And the last thing I wanted to mention is Equip 2.0. So you're all aware we have the Equip app. Helen has been terrific at writing a strategic direction document, and we are grateful for the assist from PIMCO Financial. They have provided product management support, and they're helping us turn that into a set of executable requirements and a roadmap, and then we will set out to implement Equip 2.0 this year. And that's all I wanted to update you on, and Alexis is up next to talk about development.
Okay, I've got my stop clock ready for 90 seconds. So I'm going to start now. To frame our 2023 goals like Shelton did, I'm going to just give you a quick rundown of the amazing work that the team accomplished in 2022. Starting off with our overall goal for last year was to raise $21.25 million, and the team brought in a whopping $24.9 million. So congratulations, ladies. And to break that down for corporates, the goal was $19.5 million, and the total raised was $22.13 million. That's an increase of 13.5%. And individual giving really just knocked it out of the park here as well. The the goal in 2022 was to raise 1.75, and the team raised 2.76. That's a 58% increase. So really exciting numbers there. 2023 is all about growth in kind of two major ways. We're going to increase the amount of money that we're raising, but we're also going to increase our ability to strategically move around in spaces through better use of systems and implementation of new systems. And so on that slide, you'll see our first goal is to raise 27 million in individual, foundation, and corporate giving. What that looks like in practice is expanding our multi-year gifts, also expanding our funding for unrestricted dollars to be able to enable broader flexibility as we need to. And then looking at our goal for individual giving is really to look at untapped capacity and how can we broaden our pipeline. And so we're going to set this pretty extravagant goal of 5 million for a capital campaign for major gifts, with the intention of really channeling out, and I'm already over by 30 seconds, channeling out new opportunities for individuals across the nation. So thanks to the team, and thanks to all of you who continue to support the work and allow us to be able to tell amazing stories. Up next is comms, and I believe Jen is going to take that one over.
Thanks, Alexis. I like the spirit of recap. So, and before I talk about our 3 key priorities in 2023, I just want to indicate that, last year we had a goal of reaching 2 million people, and we hit just over 9 million total users and reach. And that success was really a result of a combination of utilizing digital marketing resources, leveraging our social media platforms, and developing really compelling stories. And so with that goal in mind, we have set an even higher goal for ourselves in 2023. We plan to raise national awareness by reaching 12 million total people with our content. And this is inclusive of preparedness and recovery resources, as well as program and intervention-based content. We also plan to address upgrading our website to a new customer service management system. And the goal there is really to improve our digital user experience and capture more conversion opportunities. And then lastly, we plan to update our language and our brand for consistency across all operational sites, which will include, toolkits and resources available for social media for those individuals that really wear so many hats at their operational sites. We want to make sure that we continue to build strong partnerships there and rise some of those wonderful client stories to the top and on the national level. And that's all for us.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jen. So I am up for the people team. I'm going to read this this first goal because it is certainly well written and what I'm primarily focused on in 2023. So establish a performance management culture where 90% of our team achieves their goals utilizing the GROW coaching method. What is GROW? Well, you're going to find out very intimately, but it's goals, reality, options, obstacles, and a way forward. So I'm saying that now, you're going to hear it a lot more in the next month. And additionally, what we're going to be doing is training our team and really getting everyone on the same page about how to have really valuable one-on-one meetings with your team members, how to do 90-day performance reviews, how to do annual performance reviews, how to think about all those things, develop individual development plans. There we go. That was a weird way to say that, for all team members after an annual performance review, and utilize Paylocity's performance management platform. So instead of using all the Google Sheets, we're going to move to Paylocity. And then additionally, increase staff diversity to at least 35% at all levels of the organization by the end of this year is a big goal that HR, the people team, will be working on. With that, I am going to turn it over to Nicole to talk finance. And Nicole, we are running a little behind schedule. So if you could be as brief as possible, but still being able to cover your information, that would be great. And Nicole also has some slides, which we will go into now. Nicole.
Yes. Okay, I will be quick. One of our more challenging 2023 goals is to create an expense funnel to realize $500,000 in savings through vendor consolidations and negotiations. In past years, the finance department has been able to drive significant savings by reducing things like vehicle insurance costs, shipping, or the cost of our audit. In order to meet the 2023 goal, we are asking that every staff member pitch in. What you see in front of you is a visual of how we will work together to create $500,000 in savings across the organization. The concept of the expense funnel is that each person has a goal to find a certain amount of savings throughout the organization. Directors and senior leadership have more purchasing authority than staff, and their goals will be higher than their direct reports. We're still working on the logistics of the program, but please be on the lookout for the expense funnel rollout in the coming months. Next slide. And now we're going to go over quickly the budget and the budget for 23 and the performance for 22. So from a revenue perspective, in 2022, SBP recognized $38.1 million in revenue. This is a 10% increase from 2021. In 2023, we are budgeted to realize $42.7 million in revenue, with significant growth in other revenue, primarily from opportunity housing sales, developer fees, and advised revenue. Next. For expenses, our primary expenses within the organization are personnel expenses and construction expenses. So in 2022, we added 12 new full-time employees and are budgeted to add an additional 30 new employees for 2023. Many of the new positions for 2023 are in the disaster assistance program and advised departments. In 2022, we spent $20.3 million on construction and completed 576 homes, including opportunity housing and RAF homes. The average cost of construction per home increased by $8,000, causing a 27% increase in construction cost over the prior year. For 2023, we expect to complete 544 homes, totaling $19.1 million. These homes will be done through our traditional owner-occupied rebuild programs, opportunity housing in New Orleans and Houston, and the Recovery Acceleration Fund program. Next. Nonprofits use the term net asset change to report the income on a profit and loss statement. In 2022, SBP realized $1.2 million positive net asset change. In 2023, assuming we have no major disasters that bring in $3 million or more in funding, we're budgeted to have a negative net asset change of $520,000 as we spend down prior year's net assets. Nonprofits measure financial health by net assets. Net assets are total liabilities minus total assets, minus total liabilities. SBP's net assets have remained level, meaning we are raising the funds we need to cover our expenses for the year. That was quick, but if anybody has any questions about the budgets, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us on the team.
Awesome, Nicole. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So next up, we're going to go through 2 program spotlights. April, you will be first with the volunteer department.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle. Team, I'm really excited to introduce you to the volunteer program. So my name is April Mulater. I'm Director of Volunteer Programs here at SBP. And volunteer programs have been an integral part of SBP really since our inception. So Liz and Zach started SBP as the St. Bernard Project in 2006. Volunteers were utilized to help rebuild homes in communities in St. Bernard Parish following Hurricane Katrina. And our volunteer operations really grew and flourished, and our operations expanded to multiple locations throughout the United States after that. So, you know, why are volunteers important to our operation? For a few reasons. From a financial standpoint, the value of volunteer labor is over $1 million annually. And statistically, one volunteer saves us around $30 an hour. Volunteering isn't just important to our bottom line. It really truly is a gateway into SBP overall as an organization. So the volunteer experience with SBP is extremely meaningful. For some of us, it's the reason that we came back here to work with SBP. And again, it is that gateway to some of the interventions that we all operate in. So when individuals and groups have that meaningful experience, they become ambassadors of our program. They become donors, partners, group leaders. They are then taking and sharing their story and experiences within their network, which is going to help us grow organically, and it's going to help us grow our program as a whole. So there really is no better way, in my personal opinion, for people to learn about the work of SBP and truly experience it. And that can be done through volunteering with us. So if we look at this slide, you can really see the joy, the enthusiasm, and the excitement in these different groups and these individuals. These are wonderful opportunities for us to give groups and individuals to, work with their employees. It's a great employee engagement. It's a really fun hands-on experience. People are going to be whooped after they have that volunteer experience. And it's very meaningful for team building. So together, we really get to provide individuals with an impactful experience where they are giving back to the community. And most importantly, they're helping give back to our clients, and they are helping our clients return to their homes so that they can continue on with their future. So if we go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about what it takes to volunteer with SBP. So you may be asking yourself, whoa, this sounds super awesome. How do I become a volunteer? Well, let me tell you. So we take individuals in groups ages 14 and up. If they are a minor, we do have some requirements around that, but no experience is necessary. So anyone can come volunteer with us. We are taking volunteers Monday through Saturday, typically 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And we have volunteer operations in Houston, New Orleans, and Southeast Louisiana. So our New Orleans operation covers all the way down to Houma, Louisiana, where we're doing a lot of Ida recovery. And then in San Juan, Puerto Rico, in the greater San Juan area. So when volunteers come to us, there's a couple different phases that they can help out with. So when we experience a new hurricane, like we did Hurricane Fiona or Hurricane Ian, our volunteers are taking time to do different things such as muck and gut, mold remediation, as well as, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting one of these, mold remediation, muck and gut, and debris removal. If they are working on some of our long-term operations, which we have going on currently at our different operating sites, they're doing hanging insulation, drywall, mud and spackling, hanging trim, hanging doors, hanging baseboards, interior, exterior painting. All of these things lend themselves to a great volunteer experience. And our volunteers are never going to step foot into a house until they receive a safety briefing from our project leads, and they understand the full scope of what they're going to be doing during that volunteer day. So we can actually go to the next slide now, and I'm going to share a little bit about our team. So I want to take a minute to introduce our team. These are the individuals. They do a lot of behind the scenes work here. So our volunteer managers are Caitlin Perez, who is our community engagement manager for Houston, Elvis Balza, who is our volunteer manager for Puerto Rico, Jasmine Hardy Young is our volunteer manager in New Orleans, and I am the director of volunteer programs. Under each of these individuals, we have our volunteer coordinators, which are our AmeriCorps team working really closely with our volunteer groups. And that is part of the follow-up, that is part of the engagement that they're doing. So there is a lot of coordination that happens within the volunteer department, but there's a lot of coordination and teamwork that happens throughout our operating sites. It's not just the volunteer department that's having a direct impact on the volunteer experience. Our volunteer team, our construction team, our client services team all make a tremendous impact. Our executive directors, it takes an entire operating site to ensure a successful volunteer experience. So it is a tremendous teamwork effort, and really grateful for all of the departments who pitch in to make that. If we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I consider the volunteer magic and something that's really unique to SBP. We offer 2 different opportunities during a volunteer experience, and that is a client visit and a welcome home party. We like to connect our volunteers with our clients for a couple reasons. 1, so they get to meet the individuals that they are working with, and 2, so that they can really hear the individual story of what they experienced during the storm and what their path to recovery has been like. Our volunteers, if they have a positive experience, are going to again become those ambassadors, and those are going to become our storytellers. So having that relationship developed is important. And then of course, the welcome home party. These are tons of fun, and this happens at the end of the building experience. So we want our volunteers, if they're local, to be able to attend a welcome home party to celebrate with our clients as we bring them home. This is a party for our clients. It's also an opportunity for us to invite family, friends, and communities to come out and support those parties and really be able to bring that entire recovery process full circle. Again, volunteering with SBP, you're going to get it all. You're going to get a learning experience about the storm. You're going to meet the clients. You're going to hear and understand their stories and recoveries, the roads to recovery. And you're going to get to work alongside our AmeriCorps members, which is really pretty unique. And it's amazing the amount of feedback we get of how meaningful that experience is when our volunteers get to really understand what motivates our AmeriCorps members to serve for 10 months with SBP and what that means to them. So I want to talk a little bit now about our goals for 2023. As Dulcie mentioned, it is to host 12,000 volunteers. What that looks like is 20 volunteers a day, Monday through Saturday in New Orleans and Southeast Louisiana, as well as Puerto Rico. So again, 20 volunteers a day. And in Houston, that is 10 volunteers a day. So what can you do to support the volunteer department? First and foremost, if you have not come to volunteer with us, come volunteer with us. Come bring your family, your friends. It's a wonderful opportunity, and it's also a way to really understand and feel the great work of SBP. I think if you haven't had that experience, it truly is an aha moment, and it really will tie us tighter to all of our interventions. Secondly, we do a really good job of sharing stories from our operating sites from a comms and marketing standpoint. We share stories in all of our posts. There is always an ask for volunteers. If you have friends, family, businesses, companies, other organizations that would be a good fit for SBP, or you think it could be a good fit, please put them in touch with us. Around 60% of SBP's volunteers who have come to us have been through referral. So word of mouth goes a really long way for SBP. It's how we've really achieved a good volunteer base in the past. So making that referral and making that connection is appreciated, and it's necessary. I hope you all have learned a little bit about the volunteer department, and thank you all for everyone who's really pitched in to help this department. I know it's been a bit of a challenge as a world popping back from COVID, but volunteerism has been really strong heading into 2023. And we are seeing an increase in uptick, which is really exciting. So thank you guys, and here to support if you have any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, April. And next up, Helen with the Prepare forecast.
Hi all, I was just checking to make sure if we should try to do my presentation or move it to next time, but I will keep it short, and please feel free to follow up with me if there's anything you're interested in. Prepare, as you know, is one of our 5 interventions at SBP, and our goal is to better equip households, business leaders, local officials, and nonprofits with the knowledge and capacity to make informed disaster preparedness decisions. Traditionally, this program has been focused just on households and businesses, but we're really moving into the other spaces, working with our other interventions, because it's such a critical part of informing overall community resilience. Really briefly, since we're both newer to the team, my name is Helen Wiley. I'm a Prepare Director and I started back in August. My background is in disaster finance, working at kind of the research center policy interface. I have a master's degree in disaster risk reduction. And then Tessa Barron joined us just last week as our associate, and she comes to us from the South Carolina Office of Resilience, working on mitigation projects at the state level, and previous to that interned in Annapolis, working on their resilience plan for the city. So we have a nice range of experience. On the Prepare side, there's really key topics that we think about within the program. And so just, again, everything starts with knowing your risks and trying to have more community members know what the risks are. About 6 million people in the US have flood risk, but are outside of what are classified as flood zones and are really at risk. Can we go to the next slide? So, as I said briefly earlier, one of our big goals is educating 12 million people in the US, and there's a variety of ways that we can go about doing that. To highlight a couple things, again, this is very much hands on deck, working with comms in particular on tailoring what we're doing in our digital campaigns, trying out new content and framings. As Sheldon mentioned, we have our Equip app, which is something we want to promote for folks to download, but we're going through a 2.0 version creation this year, which will be a lengthy process, but really help us to tier the content and make it much more user-friendly on both the preparedness and recovery end to take people through that process and make it feel more achievable. We currently have SBP, last thing is we also have SBP Protects, where our recovery and preparedness resources are housed. That's going to go away. So once we migrate to the new website, you'll see that our preparedness resources are going to be housed directly on our main site and be bucketed out across different event types. And there's currently a lot of new things that we're creating to put there. Next slide. Trainings is another central component of what we do. This is how we try to start the behavioral change for community members and others that we're working with. And so as you see here, there's a variety of ways we can go about doing trainings. Several of the things I'm most excited about are one, in really doing foundation setting across SBP. I'm working with Thomas and our executive directors to embed quarterly engagements across our ops sites and build the capacity of more team members to engage in preparedness activities. As Michelle mentioned as well, working with her and as a Resilience Fellow program continues to expand of what are the initiatives that we want our fellows to be doing on the ground year to year across location. Next slide. And then in terms of collective impact, again, this is something that's new that we're exploring this year. Collective impact models are things that many social organizations develop, but they're really around creating common agendas for change. And so in the case of where we're going to be piloting our first one, it is in Georgetown, Kentucky, where Toyota has its largest manufacturing plant in the world, and an employee force and influence in the community to really think collectively about better preparing community members and employees, and also transferring potentially the model will develop to other places where they have sites around the country, or other places where similar types of large businesses have a lot of employees. Next. And then I know I've been racing through this. The last thing is, flood insurance is such a hard topic to work in because, again, affordability is so challenging, particularly for the clients and communities that we serve at SBP. But a major goal is to work towards piloting new programs to make insurance affordable for low-income households throughout the US. This is something I've worked on the last 4 or 5 years in different roles. And so one thing I'm proud of is that we're part of a New York City project that is actually being purchased this week in terms of the insurance product. but is using an insurance-like mechanism to deploy a fast emergency cash grants to households to try to better financially stabilize them quickly and fill some of that needed gap that currently exists. But there's myriad models of trying to use insurance in more creative ways around the country to meet needs, particularly in the absence of more federal reform to our national flood insurance program. And with that, I know we're already a minute over time, but please let me know if you're interested in learning more about any of the work we're doing this year in Prepare.
Fantastic, Helen. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. I know we are now 2 minutes over. I'm going to fly through the HR updates, and we're going to move the shout outs to email, and I have an email all ready to go. So please use the shout out email. It's just for staff. Those are the only people that will see. So some HR updates. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who was able to take or participate in the employee engagement survey. The results are in. We had about a 71% response rate, which is really great. We're going to work to compile the data and recognize themes, where we're doing well and areas where we can grow. The survey results, the themes that we identify, and a plan to amplify what we're doing well and improve in areas for growth will be published to this team in about 2 weeks after we've been able to go through the data, put it together, compile, review, and put a plan together. Lunch and Learns are coming back. Our first Lunch and Learn of the year is going to be February 15th, led by Elizabeth Egley, discussing how SVP engages corporate sponsors in storytelling. If you do have any other topics that you can think of that you're interested in, we have a number of them that we're prepared to deliver. But if you want to know more about some aspect of SVP, please let me or Anya know, and we'll most likely make a Lunch and Learn for it. And then third is our internal newsletter is getting relaunched. Thanks to everybody who provided feedback about what topics and content you'd like to see covered in a monthly newsletter. We're going to be relaunching that internal newsletter next month in February. So please stay tuned for more, and please continue to share your feedback. Some quick notes on training. So we're going to continue TPS training, continued practice specific training where it occurs at a regular cadence for all team members starting in Q1 of this year. And further, training is going to be incorporated into orientation and onboarding for all new staff and AmeriCorps members starting this year as well. I am going to be leading, I know we talked about goals today, organizational goals. I am going to be leading 2 main initiatives in Q1. One is training on goal setting or SMART goal training to ensure that all staff members have individual goals to provide clarity around what success looks like. You saw our organizational goals. Everybody on this call in some way, impacts those goals. And so it's going to be really important, and it is important for everyone to know what their individual goals are so we can achieve our organizational goals in 2023. And then last, around training, I will also be conducting in Q1 a performance management training. Like I mentioned earlier on, as part of the people team goals, expectations and standardization and how to conduct one-on-ones, how to do 90-day reviews, annual performance reviews, and how to do those in Paylocity. And then last but not least, and thank you for staying on a little bit after, a Q1 forecast. So Black History Month starts tomorrow, and we are celebrating it at SVP. We have impactful programming that the people team has worked hard to create, and we're going to send out more information at the end of this week as we celebrate Black History Month. Second is a big shout out. Our first PVC cabinet client welcome home party happens Friday. If you don't know about the PVC pilot, this is a sustainable cabinets made out of PVC. And that client is in Southwest Louisiana, impacted by Hurricane Ida. Homeowners can have added peace of mind knowing that the cabinets are water resistant. When a home takes flooding, or when a home takes water in a flood, you have to toss the cabinets. They get moldy, they get disgusting, they have to be thrown away. These PVC cabinets are going to prevent that. And it also helps to prevent, a lot of post-disaster waste winding up in the landfill. And then last, and I want to slow down just a little bit, and I know now we're 6 minutes over, but please stick around. I want to shout out the South Carolina City of Columbia team. The program is going to be sunsetting at the end of March. They have, in the last year, preserved over $1.3 million in equity They've built 41 homes, so a huge shout out to Rick, to Paul, Flanderina, Maria, Ken, Maxine, Amy, Courtney, Paul Creech. Just a fantastic job. And with that, I would like to invite to speak a little bit to close us out. He's going to speak about the sunsetting and the progress and the program success for the city of Columbia. So Rick, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Hey, everybody. When we're talking about the Columbia program, we're rebuilding from a 2015 storm. And when we took over, it was a stalled construction process where they, at the end of 2020, they didn't even know how many homes that they had done, or if they had done any homes. So as Kyle said, we returned 41 families to safe, sanitary, and secure homes. If we look at the families, all of those families had some sort of a disability in the home. Majority of the applicants are over the age of 65, over half are female head of household, and over 60% non-white. When we look at the houses, there's 27 rehabilitations, 14 brand new 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. Average value of services provided to all 41 families averages out to $187,431. 40 of the 41 homes had asbestos, 39 had LBP issues. They're all now abated and risk-free for the families. Most of them, we have fortified roofs, all now have central heat and air conditioning. And because the insulation and Energy Star appliances and upgrades that we've put in, the average utility bill, when we've checked with the citizens, has been down by 30%. So they've been in 30% savings, which in some cases is a huge difference for an LMI family and may actually allow them to afford insurance or something like that against the next storm. In terms of cost savings, and I really like what Nicole talked about, we were able to actually cost save enough money that we were able to extend our time for our SRA by 6 months. That's a 25% increase. It also forced the for-profit program manager to extend their presence by 90 days or 3 months. So as a result of the team's cost awareness and cost avoidance, the city basically got an additional 9 months of service without an additional dollar being spent. So I just would like to give a great big shout out to Maxine and Maria, who interface with all the clients and keep everybody calm. For Amy, Jeff, Ken, and Paul, who have borne the construction load. For Paul, my good partner, wingman, et cetera, Paul Flanderina, who does everything in terms of the administration, and then Courtney. In terms of that, and I don't think I forgot anybody, but if I did, I apologize. I'll blame stage fright. But at any rate, it's been a great thing. We will be transitioning out this over the next quarter. If you happen to have a job that you need done, and the name of a Columbia City individual comes up, I'd say that you couldn't do better in terms of getting them on your team. So they're all outstanding individuals. And they have done a great job here. So with that, I will put myself back on mute. And
Rick, thank you so much. And again, great job, Columbia team. Awesome. Like I said, I know it's 10 minutes over. We are wrapping up now. I just kicked us off for the shout outs via email. So please take a moment and shout out some people. Tell us who is really kicking butt. Thank you all for staying on late. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, I'm going to record this and get it up. So if you missed anything or anybody else did, it'll be on the YouTube. Take care. Have a great rest of your afternoon, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, y'all.